I and my boyfriend are not intellectually compatible and we have less shared humor. I would like to start with the fact that intellectual incompatibility is a very legit ground for breakup. And I would like to contrast this with sex, that in a relationship that will later lead to marriage, sex is a very small percentage of what is going to be happening in the marriage. When you finally get married, you are going to have more talks than you will have sex. It's just normal. And if you are not on the same intellectual frequency, then like bulk of your relationship, bulk of your marriage is just going to be dry because you are not going to be having any conversation. So intellectual compatibility is a very solid ground, or incompatibility is a very solid ground for breakup. However, if you're in this case now, like I always say, before you just jump into a breakup, try as much as possible to see that you have made all the effort you can to solve it. And if it cannot be solved, if it cannot be mended, then you should opt out of it. So some things you can do to help that intellectual compatibility is to, number one, try to have more shared experiences. Sometimes it is not as if one person is their IQ is low and the other person their IQ is high. It might just be that the kind of information this person is exposed to, this other person is not exposed to. And what gives you the information is the people you hang out with, the books you read, the videos you watch, the movies you watch, and all of that. Those are what, have I said the places you go? Yeah, those are the things that shape what happens in your mind. So if both of you now are in two different places where what's happening in your minds are not meeting, one of you might need to get into the world of the other person. Now, in your own case, you might be feeling that you are the one who has the higher intelligence. You might want to bring the other person into your world and try to get them to listen to the people you listen to, get them to go to the places you go to. If you are suggesting date ideas, you suggest date ideas around those places and let them have the same kind of experiences you're having. And with time, you begin to notice that your humor, you even talked about humor, that your humor are not shared. Yes, experiences also guide the kind of humor, that when you can just make reference to that woman we met at the mall that the other day, and you laugh about it. So you're seeing your humor is becoming aligned, and the way you think is becoming aligned because you are now exposing yourself to the same kind of experiences. Now, another thing I would like to say is that as much as you are trying to make the person to step up intellectually, you don't do it with condemnation. You don't do it with criticism. Humans at our best, we don't like criticism. Now, there are people that put on their CV that they're open to criticism, but we don't really like criticism. And if we see someone criticizing us, we will become defensive, or either be defensive and shout back at the person, or be defensive and pull away from the person. So ensure you don't do it with criticism. You do it with facilitation. Like, I like you, I like everything we're doing together, but how about you try this? And you don't force them. You don't try to bring them out of their world and make them change their personality, make them change their identity to become like you. That will not work as well. If they do that, they will end up hating you. So you try to facilitate them and encourage them to explore more intellectual materials. I saw this book. How about you try to read it? Or if you haven't recommended like three books to them and you're not reading, you after you read the book, you try to share with them. This is what I learned from this book. This is what I learned from this book. And if you do all of this and it's not still working, at some point you just have to let go. Because like I started the video with, intellectual compatibility is something that is very, 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 very serious. It's going to determine how the bulk part of your marriage is going to be. When you're making financial decisions, it will still fall back to your intellectual capacity. How well you can raise your children and the choices you want around your children you still fall back to your intellectual compatibility. So these are some things you can try, but if it does not work, you still have to let them go.